Hi, my name is Natasha Hayes, and the topic of my speech is the attempted genocide of Margaret Sanger. We are paying for and even submitting to the dictates of an ever-increasing, unceasingly spawning class of human beings who never should have been born at all. Words of Margaret Sanger. It was back in 2011 when I began studying the work of Margaret Sanger. And in the beginning, I thought she was a positive female birth control activist, but as I continued my research, I learned about the groundwork of her greatest creation known as Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger was an American birth control activist, sex educator, writer, and nurse. She popularized the term birth control, opened the first birth control clinic in the United States, and established organizations that evolved into Planned Parenthood Federations of America. She was born on September 14, 1879 in Connors, New York, to a large family. In 1910, she moved to Greenwich Village and started a publication promoting a woman's rights to birth control. She was an early feminist and women's rights activist who coined the term birth control and worked towards its legalization. Margaret Sanger was a proponent of negative eugenics, which aimed to improve the human hereditary traits through the social intervention by reducing the reproduction of those who were considered unfit. Originally, she based the advocacy of birth control on feminist ideas, which I agreed. But after World War I, Sanger increasingly appealed to the societal needs to limit births by those least able to afford children. In The Mortality of Birth Control, a 1921 speech, she divided the society into three groups: the educated and informed, which was a class that regulated the size of their families; the intellect and irresponsible, who desired to control their families in spite of lacking the means or knowledge; and the irresponsible and reckless people, whose religious scruples prevented their exercising control over their numbers. In the beginning, birth control came about so that women had the power to protect themselves, but over time it was used to try to control the population of a race. She was specifically concerned with reducing the population of the less fit, including inferior races such as African Americans. One major result of her lifelong work was to support the sexual revolution that has radically changed our society. Margaret Sanger opened her first birth control clinic in 1916 in the impoverished area of Brownsville section of Brooklyn to help control the problem of overbreeding. Even though her office was small and overcrowded, it attracted the clientele that she wanted, which was immigrant Southern Europeans, Slavs, Latins, African Americans, and Jews who could only be found in the coarser neighborhoods. Her birth control lead board was made up of almost exclusively of sociologists and eugenics, ensuring that her eugenic goals were implemented. They placed clinics wherever they judged feeble-minded, syphilitic, irresponsible, and defective persons bred unhindered, which she referred to as a transmissible disease. As her organizations grew, Sanger set up more clinics in the communities of dysgenic races, such as blacks and Hispanics. Sanger turned her attention more to African Americans in 1929 and opened another clinic in Harlem in 1930. Sanger, in alliance with eugenics and through initiatives such as the Negro Project, exploited black stereotypes in order to reduce the fertility of African Americans. To deal with the problem of resistance among the black population, she recruited black doctors, nurses, ministers, and social workers in order to gain the black trust in order to limit or even erase the black presence in America. In the 1950s, the federal welfare program Aid to Families with Dependent Children was criticized by some upper-class whites who did not want to subsidize poor families. States such as North and South Carolina performed sterilization procedures on low-income black mothers involuntarily who were giving birth to their second child. The mothers were told that they have to agree to have their tubes tied or their welfare benefits would be canceled, and also the benefits of their families who they were born into. Because of this racist reaction, sterilization of African Americans increased from 23% of the total in the 1930s and 1940s to 59% by the end of the 1950s, and rose further to 64% in the mid 1960s. In a 1957 interview with Mike Wallace, Margaret Sanger revealed, "I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to being a human being practically. Delinquents, prisoners, and all sorts of things just marked when they're born. This to me is the greatest sin that people can commit." This line of thinking from its founder has left its marks on the legacy of Planned Parenthood. For example, 79% of Planned Parenthood surgical abortions facilities are located within walking distance from Black or Hispanic communities. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of Abortion surveillance report revealed that between 2007 and 2010, nearly 36% of all abortions in the United States were performed on Black children, even though Black Americans make up only 13% of our population. A further 21% of abortions were performed on Hispanics and 7% more on other minority groups. A total of 64% of the U.S. abortions tragically performed on minority groups. And although today Planned Parenthood stresses the importance of family planning, the fact is still that Margaret Sanger created and sold birth control as a crypto eugenics. And although there is so much more to this story that I couldn't fit in, I highly suggest you guys to do groundwork and a background check on Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, just so that you guys are fully aware of why. Fully aware of the reason it was created, and that every helping hand is not always there to help. Thank you.